This is a sound that I call the FM Chop Shop Wub, and it sounds like this. Sounds pretty cool when you put it to drums, too. Alright, I'm going to show you how to make it. So first of all, let's do a modular. We're going to be going a little bit faster today. So we're going to do 2 waveform generators, actually 3. And then we're going to put a mixer here. Now, you can get away with putting a 2, but we're going to do a 3, and I'm going to show you a little thing you could add at the end. We're going to do 2 envelopes, 2 DADs or envelopes. This is going to control the gate of this, and this is going to control the pitch. We're going to go down to the filter and make sure it's a resonant LP, because that does make a difference. And then we're going to do a decay envelope and then a oscilloscope down here. Let's put the note control voltage into the notes. We're going to use this one as the to the mod ports, use as a gate, and then this is going to control the pitch. Now we're going to do some FMing. So oscillator 1, oscillator 2, oscillator 3. 1 is going to be strictly a modulator. Number 2 is a little bit different because this is going to be acting, I believe, as a modulator and a carrier, because this is going to directly modulate 3, but it's also going to have a direct output as well. So I'm assuming that this is a modulator and a carrier, I think. If I'm wrong, please let me know. So this is going to go into another direct out as well. And then we're going to take this and go into this filter. Now be sure to go, if you go to the top, be sure to go out of the top, because if you go out of the bottom, it's not going to work. So, because this is like a ×2. So if you go to anything that says ×2, lag processor, the filters, that means that there's going to be 2 ins, 2 outs. Like for instance, if you use the lag processor, see how there's 1 in, another in, 1 out, 2 outs. That means that there's 2 ins, 2 outs. So now this is just going to go straight into our speakers, and then we want to see what's going on, so we could plug this into our oscilloscope. Lastly, this decay envelope is going to go into the modulation port. Now you might be thinking like, well, we have decay right here. This is actually going to sharpen this decay. So it does make a big difference. Okay, we plugged everything in, so we should have some sound. We got a little baby pluck. Scrooge McPluck. Plucky. Okay, so the first thing is you can control the length of it with this decay. So I have my controller plugged in. That's why I'm not using like the little virtual one. So see how that works? So we're going to put this to about right here. Let's add a little bit more harmonics. So let's take it from a sine wave to a saw. Take this all the way to a square. Let's drop this 2 octaves. Adds a lot more aggressive sound to this. You could really hear that FM working. We're going to go positive on this one and leave this one alone. But we are also going to, okay, let's just drop these. Let's drop this one all the way down. And we're really going to get a disgusting sound with this, but it's going to get cleaned up. That's actually kind of cool. Very menacing. And this is going to be dropped down 3. So now we got a real disgusting sound again, but it's going to get cleaned up. And this is because what do they call it, man? It's not a set, and how should I explain this? With FM synthesis, a lot of it is mathematical, and it depends on exactly the semis that are working with it, because some go really good together and some really don't. And this one obviously doesn't. Let's detune this one a little bit. That's going to give it kind of a wider sound. You'll hear it once everything gets kind of cleaned up. So now we're going to take this sustain of the main gate all the way down, leave the decay all the way down, but notice how we're not have a sound now. That's because we need to let a little bit in So this is going to open that sound up, but the decay is going to control like the end of it. So bring this to here. Okay, so now let's roll this frequency off a little bit. Okay, all right, okay. This is, like I said, is going to control the pitch on here, but it's not going to work unless we move these either to the left or the right. So let's bring all of them up. Okay, now we got a little bit different of a sound. We can drop this decay slope all the way down. We can bring this one all the way up. Let's actually go ahead and add a distortion to this. Just leave it stock settings. Let's turn it down. It's a bit much. We can actually turn it down on the mixer as well. Okay. So a big part of this is going to be just by slightly bringing this attack, and this is what's going to give it that wub sound. See how much of a difference that is? No attack. Almost unusable sound. But once you take that attack just slightly up, and it's going to very, very quickly take this from, I think, top to down. Or maybe it goes from down to up by doing this, which gives it the wub. The opposite would be a decay, which would give you kind of a dub sound. So that's basically how this whole patch works. I was going to show you a little thing at the end. Or you can make it longer if you want. Or shorter. So, if you want to add a little bit of a lower end, which I kind of don't recommend, that's why I don't have this, but you can add a sub-oscillator on here. And just make sure that you have the note and then the gate plugged in here. Whoops. And then just take this to the third out and then maybe drop it down one. Hear that lower end on it. I highly recommend anything that says sound design with my videos. I highly recommend using headphones so you can really hear the subtle differences between some of these sounds, because it in many cases it does make a difference. This is a real kind of drastic approach to this to kind of verify the lower end, which I don't recommend this because this is kind of a more of a real stab, short sound that I want in the higher frequencies, so I don't really recommend putting this. But for a lot of bass sounds, just add in a simple sub-oscillator and maybe bringing the volume down a tiny bit on it will actually do a great deal of good to your bottom end on your basses, but we don't want this. So this is basically how the whole patch works. Just play around a little bit with the filter on here too. So you can get a lot of kind of cooler sounds on here. You can also bring down the FMs a little bit, make a little cleaner sound. Or maybe it's this one. Hear that kind of growly sound that the FM brings. So just play around, do a little bit of fine tuning and make it your own. Thanks for watching. Cue the music.